Yes, for years, I mean, we all know what psychiatrists do to people. They section you and hold you in hospital against your will, and they forcibly sedate people in the community these days by holding them on community treatment orders, which they forcibly sedate you with antipsychotics. And what I could never work out is why. And I think I've worked it out now, that they, like the rest of the medical profession, are out to prove that man is but a machine, but a robot, and has no soul, and there is no God. Anybody who flies in the face of that indoctrination will be sectioned. Now, you know, why do psychiatrists think antipsychotic is a miracle cure-all for all mental illnesses? Well, the fact is, it blunts your emotions, and it sedates the patient for a start, which if you have a sixth sense, as I have, they don't want me talking to other people and getting a job and contributing to society where I can talk to people, so they sedate me with antipsychotics. And it also blunts your emotions, which psychiatrists feel if they can prove that they can blunt the emotions with medication, it proves that man is a robot and there is no God. You know, if they, you know, emotion is something that they can't understand, because machines don't have emotions, so they want to blunt everybody's emotions to make them like a machine, to prove that man is a machine. Now, you know, I do get a lot of flack from professional psychics. They say they wouldn't section you just because you're psychic, but you know, a lot of professional psychics through history have been sectioned for life. My mum, to great I can't think of the word, but you know, she made sure I was aware of what you can, and she didn't want me to use my psychic powers at all or speak about them in case I got sectioned. She kept telling me if I talked about it I would get sectioned for life, and I believe it was an inherited trait, and my mum had it. And one case I remember she was always telling me about was about a psychic who predicted the attack on Pearl Harbor. Now, I've read up about it. She didn't exactly predict the attack on Pearl Harbor. The attack on Pearl Harbor had already taken place, but the authorities hadn't released the information yet, and she was getting the spirits of dead soldiers coming to her and telling her about it, and she spread it around the community. Now, I know that if you start spreading things that are state secrets, you will be sectioned for life, probably, for being a threat to national security. So, you know, most professional psychics are aware of what they can and cannot get away with, especially if they've been on some sort of psychic training course. You know, you go to see professional psychics in the spiritualist church, and they're always saying to the spirit, you know, I can't say that, I'm not allowed to say that, you'll have to think of another way of putting it, or, you know, I can't say that, it's predicting into the future. Now, that is the main reason why professional psychics get sectioned, for accurately predicting into the future. Now, they're not usually bothered about you predicting that Posh Spice is going to have another baby, because that could just be a lucky guess. You know, I mean, I know I make predictions into the future sometimes, like atomic energy is going to be the energy of the future. Well, you know, they've been experimenting with atoms for years, so that could just be a lucky guess. But there was a psychic when I was at Brockhall, a psychic who had been sectioned for life in Brockhall, and she again made predictions to the future, and she was astoundingly accurate, and the nurses kept telling you not to talk to her because she'd frighten you, because her predictions are always coming true. And quite often she was telling staff that they would be in a nasty car crash and end up in intensive care, and sure enough they did. So I wonder if she was also a bit of a witch and she was able to put car crash spells on people. I don't know, but I used to speak to her and she said, cross me palm with silver. Now I know how to haggle psychics and gypsies. You know, I gave her 50p and I said, I only want good news, otherwise I want my money back. And she said, you're going to get letters from somewhere near America. It's Canada or something. Canada. I said, Canada? She said, is it Canada? I'm not very good at geography. And sure enough, 6 months later, my sister moved to Canada with her husband, and yes, I did get letters from her. And there was my sister hadn't visited the hospital. There was no way that this woman could have overheard anything or anything, you know. And people in the hospital did recognise that her predictions always come true, and this is a reason why psychiatrists would section you if you prove without a doubt that there is a spirit world, because they don't want people believing that. They want people believing that man is a machine and he has no soul. So if you're a psychic and you prove without a doubt that there is a spirit world, and somebody in the authorities finds out about it and refers you to a psychiatrist, you will get sectioned. Be of no doubt. They want to prove that man is machine and has no soul. Because the other thing, of course, they've worked out is that people who are spiritual and believe in God are less likely to leave their bodies to medical science. And they want to persuade everybody to leave their bodies to medical science. So, what was the other thing I wanted to say? Yes, CBT, conductive behaviour therapy. It is the only type of psychological therapy that psychiatrists will refer you to. Why is this? This is because practitioners of conductive behaviour therapy, although they are psychologists, they compare the brain to a robot, which fits in with the psychiatrist's model of men being machines. Now, they will not have a bar of any psychological therapies that that work on the basis that traumatic events in your life can have some effect on your psychology. They obviously don't believe that traumatic events have an effect on your psychology, otherwise they wouldn't keep arresting the patients, you know, just to force treatment on them, would they? You know, and they will not have that traumatic events can have an effect on the way you think or the way you behave, because of course it doesn't affect a computer. You know, computers aren't affected psychologically by events, are they? I mean, if you break them and then you repair them, they don't keep weeping because they've been broken, do they? So, you know, computers don't have emotions, and computers don't computers don't suffer from psychological traumas, so psychiatrists would argue that people don't either, because they're just a machine. And like I said, they're out to prove that man is a machine. And you must never start a sentence with a psychiatrist that I've been thinking, doctor, especially if you're going to come out with some sort of new or original thought that is peculiar to you, because they will section you because you are going against the principle of man being a machine. Computers are incapable of original thought. They can only work on the principles of what has been programmed into them. So if you say anything that can be attributed to free thought or free ideas or free spirit, which goes against psychiatrists' thinking of man as a machine, they will section you, because they think you are trying to prove the existence of a soul and a spirit, which they don't want people to prove there's a spirit. They want to prove that man has no soul and there is no God. And you know, any sort of original thought or original thinking they won't have a bar of. So yes, that's what makes psychiatrists tick. That's why they blunt your emotions and turn you into a zombie with antipsychotics, because they want to prove that men are robots, men are machines, there is no God, and man hath no soul. And anybody who has any sort of proof to the contrary, they will have you sectioned to silence you. Anyway, bye YouTubers.